yourself in time.
Because the man's needs a final greed, a final greed. A man's needs a lost on me. A man's needs a final greed, a final greed. A man's needs.
I'm not bothered what you say or how you dress. I'm a mess, so you've always seen in violence. But really, this all seems quite meaningless when I remember that you never seem to see the fact
The man's needs a final greed, a final greed. A man's needs a lost on me. A girl's needs just don't agree with a man's needs.
Have you noticed? I've never been impressed by your friends from New York and London. But really, this all seems quite meaningless when I remember that you never seem to see
It's just the man's needs a final greed, a final greed. A man's needs a lost on me. You say a man's needs apply to me. I don't agree. A man's needs, oh.
I'm learning how to fight, kissing you goodnight, but I still can't really tell you why I'm blue. I'm learning how to.
Crawled out my grave to pretend to be you again. No way in hell that I'll ever be back again. And the weeks go by so fast when I'm living it up on my way out. Didn't see you there, falling fast and hard. I call out so loud. 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 They're reading my roof, I got nothing to lose. Throw out my old clothes and go hit the booth. Cut out new eyes for me to see through. Perspective shifts as I don't need you. Not here to be stuck in a past life. Ascend a sharp knife. I'm calling out in the night, refraining from lie. You'll be here in the morning. Please don't say sorry. The light bleeds through and forever reveals the truth. Weeks go by so fast when I'm living it up on my way out. Didn't see you there, falling fast and hard. I call out so loud. I can feel my chest anymore. I can see the frets anymore.
Hello?
Hey.
Oh my gosh. Duff, hello. Raiden.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Thank you for joining. Just a disclosure, we're probably not going to see anybody on here. Like, nobody really joins the stream like live. Sometimes we get lucky, you know, but
Yeah.
so, you know, it's pretty casual.
No.
Um,
Happy to be here, nonetheless.
yeah. Is Raiden a? By the way, Duff, this is Raiden. Raiden's our special guest tonight.
It's very nice to meet you. Glad you could join us.
Thank you.
Yo, you sound a little stony baloney. I mean, not to put you
Me
on the
or
spot.
Raiden?
Raiden.
Oh no, just chilling. I feel like
all right, that's fine. It's totally cool if it's Stony Baloney. I mean, it's, you know, I know that Lux and Yard Sale, who are the two who should be coming to soon, they get frequently drunk and Stony Baloney on the show quite often.
I'm a little stony baloney.
Are you really?
Yeah, I usually am.
What? that's news to me. I don't know.
Do I sound okay? Because I've been having a lot of trouble with this microphone
I don't
and
know.
headset.
You sound great. You sound
Okay,
great.
good.
It's cutting off a little bit on Raiden's side, a little bit.
okay.
Wait, so are you like God of Lightning, Raiden from Mortal Kombat, or where does this name
Yeah,
come from?
exactly.
For real?
Exactly.
That's awesome.
It's what my dad was gonna name me if I was a boy.
Really?
What?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like
My
it's a
mom was
cool
all
girl's
for
name
it.
too.
I know.
Raiden.
I know.
Like, sounds awesome.
It really is. I think I missed out on that one, but it's okay.
But luckily, there's a whole online world where you can create your own name and use it.
Exactly. So Raiden was born.
Awesome. Well, I mean, so was he like a Mortal Kombat fan, or he just like
A huge fan. Huge
for real?
fan. Yeah.
That's so cool. Actually, that's really cool. There's a lot of hidden gems in that game. A lot of our viewers actually are gamers and are pretty young, so I don't even know if they'll know what the old school Mortal Kombat was like. But it was very much kind of like an indie, like what an indie game would feel like today. I think
Exactly.
with like hidden gems and little Easter eggs, random things, none of which exist in the modern game today. So, Lux, you are here.
Here.
He's the other buffoons that's going to be co-hosting with us tonight. Lux, Raiden, Lux.
Hi, Ray.
Hi, Lex. Nice to meet you, Lex.
I was, you know, if Yard Sale's gonna make it.
Sure. He was supposed to.
Okay. Oh my goodness. How are you guys all doing tonight?
I'm exhausted.
Yeah, me too. Duff is Stony Baloney and so is Raiden, but you won't admit it.
Not yet, but you're giving me some ideas.
Oh snap. I really want to wait for a Yard Sale on this.
So while we wait for him, I'm going to share something really quickly because you guys were talking about Mortal Kombat. I'm trying to get into the chat. I saw this video of this drunk guy, like being like they imposed a Mortal Kombat fighter into the video, and it is just very funny. And I've been Mortal Kombat has been on my mind this week, actually. Just random that this is Raiden is here right now.
Post it. Let me put it up on the screen.
I just posted it.
You did? Oh, I'm
I
in the
think
wrong
so.
channel. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
It's very funny.
All right. Here it goes. What is this? How come I don't have sound?
There might not be. I don't know if there's sound, but you can just watch it.
Dude, what?
Is this like a drunk guy?
It's just a drunk guy and
You can't
somebody
get past the
put it
curve.
to Mortal Kombat, and it's just so good.
Dude, that's like Lux, you know that's Michael right there
Yeah.
sometimes. Oh, our friend Michael. Yes, my bad.
It just every time he tries, and you root for him, and he just gets knocked down.
Dude.
Very Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I've never seen. Is there a finish him? Like, is there a fatality?
That would be hilarious.
To be.
Oh, there is.
Yes, there is.
Oh, there
there
is?
is. Yeah.
Oh shit! Oh, that's great. So good, so good. What is this? There's another guy. Drunk
Oh my
guy
gosh.
tries to buy beer, Mortal Kombat style.
I guess this is the thing.
I guess so. I'm playing a little bit of the. Dude, the soundtrack to Mortal Kombat was awesome. I'm just gonna say it always gets me going. Oh my goodness! All right, that's enough. Oh my goodness! I'm just gonna turn off the music. It's still fucking hilarious.
I have one of these moments once.
The struggle is real, man. Oh, oh my goodness!
What?
Oh my goodness! Oh dear God!
I have definitely been that person before.
I actually stop at the dumpster. Actually, it was quite frequent that like I'd get really, really drunk and just pass out behind a dumpster. I, for some reason, felt it was the most safe, comfortable place for me to be. Dude, this old man, like peering over the aisle to take a look at what the hell's going on. Oh man. Okay, Lux, are you there?
Yeah.
All right. So, listen. While we wait for yard sale, I'm gonna pull up a few articles. I saw you didn't really put anything on the schedule, and I think I know why. Because
Well, I
we
thought
have
had the guest this week.
yes, and Raiden is here. I don't, and really
There was so
excited
much
for
talk
that.
about it.
Okay, but while we wait for yard sale, maybe you could text them.
I did. We might want to just move on without him. There's a possibility he might not show up.
Gotcha. Okay.
We hung out yesterday and started drinking around 3 in the afternoon. Went till about 1 o'clock in the morning.
I just want to say something that I think is you will hit up a couple of articles for you. I think you'll enjoy this one. OnePlus phones will ship with Facebook services that cannot be removed.
I just saw this. Yeah.
Yes, which is a feather in your cap in terms of like Android phones.
Yeah.
And I have a OnePlus phone, and it's really shitty because they've made such amazing phones. They're probably one of the only phones you should probably get if you have an Android, that or a Pixel. And now I'm gonna probably get rid of it. It's really sad.
It's too bad.
Yeah. Hey, Raiden, do you have an iPhone?
I do.
So you have blue bubbles?
Yeah. I love the
Everybody
blue
here has
bubbles. I do.
Yeah. No, people do. It works.
Yeah.
So I found an alternative. But it's kind of extreme, and I don't think I'm really gonna I don't know. I'm on the fence. I don't think I'm going to actually get it. But I tried searching for, like privacy-focused phones, and I came across Purism, which is a phone with an OS based on Linux that's outside of the Android ecosystem or iOS ecosystem. It's interesting to see these projects. I know Ubuntu tried to launch one, but it didn't really take off, and they abandoned the project.
I just wish the design was better sometimes in some of these projects. That would make me so happy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I agree. I wish they were a lot better.
What would be your ideal design?
Well, I just think there's so much mindfulness that's coming out, with Apple and Android phones and in those ecosystems. And it's kind of sometimes when these projects, these alternative projects, are so focused on the mission that sometimes the design and the actual experience doesn't get considered. And then like people don't want to use it because it seems like complicated or hard or something like that. But really, like for example, this, I don't know anything about this one. What is this? Librem 5 USA. But it just looks like I'm looking at this and it looks scary. I'm like, I don't know what it is. I just wish it felt like a bit more approachable,
Yeah. And to your point, I mean, all of this is just very technical specs, not much in way of like the experience. And I couldn't really find much actually in light of the like what the experience might be like with the operating system, which was unfortunate. You literally have to just like install it somewhere. So I don't know. Linux though has come a long way. There's Elementary OS. They've done pretty good with their design. It pretty much looks like Apple. And
it's a Linux product?
It's a Linux product. It's basically Ubuntu, except they've made it pretty and the user experience nice. So they've completely focused on the user experience. You got the little bar at the bottom, the dock, and you have like your apps. What?
I don't like that they did that.
Well, I mean, if you have an Apple product, that's what you have, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That obviously are mimicking Apple. I wish they would have done something original,
Well, Ubuntu has something original, but it's not. What is it? There's all sorts of different desktops on Linux now. There's the standard desktop. There's the KDE desktop. Linux KDE, which it's pretty original, I think. Let's see.
Going to these pages, like it's just so much, and I have no idea what it's going to feel like, what the experience is going to be like. And I just wish sometimes some of the projects that I feel like are some of the most innovative had a bit of that emotional feel to it, where you're like, oh wow, I'm going to really enjoy this.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it also depends, I guess, on what kind of person you are, right? Like, I've tried all of these desktops. Literally, the GNOME Shell desktop, the Elementary desktop, the Unity desktop. All of these desktops I've tried on Linux because I'm kind of like a Linux distro whore, and but I ended up using i3. And what i3 is a window manager, and it's basically made for terminals. So you basically just have it just automatically tiles across the screen for you, and all the things that you open, and it's keyboard driven, so you don't really use a mouse. And if I could apply that anywhere else, then I would, because that's the kind of person I am, I guess. But there's like this super steep learning curve to switch between windows to yeah. Anyways, I'll share one more article and then we'll just move on. The McDonald's CEO, I went through this this morning actually, and he was quoted in saying, "I eat 5 days a week, twice a day, McDonald's." I just don't believe it, right? For breakfast, he orders an Egg McMuffin sandwich with no bacon and enjoys it with a cup of coffee or a small Diet Coke. For lunch, he sometimes enjoys their salads or the fillet of fish with no tartar sauce. And then on cheat days, he enjoys a quarter pounder. I just can't imagine even eating 5 days a week, twice a day, McDonald's
all the time.
That's
You're not
insane.
eating anything else.
That's insane.
He does
No.
not. And then you know
I
what
don't
he looks
believe
like?
this.
Yeah, I don't believe it either. I think it's bullshit. What is it? All right.
I had McDonald's one day and I
This
feel
is-
like
This is what the guy
The
looks
worst.
like. This is what the
You're
guy
like
looks
death.
like. This motherfucker right here.
Oh, bullshit.
Bullshit.
He
This
doesn't-
guy eats fucking.
Yeah, he doesn't eat McDonald's 5 days a week. Give me a fucking
his
break.
skin looks way too good for eating
Yeah,
McDonald's 5 days a
exactly.
week.
Exactly. If there's not
That looks like a picture that you would find like
yeah,
in
he's
a
lying because he's a McDonald's exec.
Homeboy has to say this, man.
Yeah, exactly. Give me a break.
How long does he spend at the gym every day? Like 6 hours?
I don't know, man. I don't know. All right.
Or I guess if you're making that McDonald's money, you can afford like constant skin transplants and
I feel like it's liposuction every
yeah.
like 6 months.
You get the what is it that thing that the tech executives do in Silicon Valley, Arthur? Where they get like the blood of young people.
Serious?
What?
You guys have never heard of that?
No.
Blood transfusions from young.
That's
people?
some like Vampire Diaries.
I
Like,
swear to
What
God.
did they? What happened? What do they think happens?
Can I
swear
Google
to God,
this?
it's fake.
So in other words, okay, so there's all sorts of weird shit, right? Like, on the East Coast, we traffic young children. In Los Angeles, we also traffic young children, like young actors. Like Zac Efron was like a sex slave or something like that. And then in Silicon Valley, they suck the blood out of children. Does that sound right?
Oh my goodness. So yeah, what do they think happens? So this blood goes into them, and then what happens?
yeah.
Longevity.
Who also do people willingly donate their blood, or is there
They
some
sell
kind
it.
of
They don't donate it. They sell it.
Silicon Valley doofs are spending $8,000 to inject themselves with the blood of the young people. Here it is. That's nuts.
Yeah,
That's
you
a-
guys never heard of this, huh?
No, this seems like what?
Is it like a drug transfusion, like in some way? Is it a real medical thing, or are they just?
I don't know.
Startups like Ambrosia have marketed young blood, quote, young blood, plasma harvested from youths between 16 and 25 years old, claiming that it rejuvenates organs and fights the effects of aging. Founder Jesse Karmazin or whatever told Business Insider that he charged $8,000 for a single liter and a discounted $12,000 for two. Among other things, the blood is allegedly supposed to counteract Alzheimer's, heart disease, memory loss, even PTSD, and multiple sclerosis. The company also performed its own clinical trial, the results of which were, quote, really positive, according to Karmazin.
A liter seems like a lot.
A liter does seem like a lot. You know what? But
It does.
I mean,
Is this a good deal, or like, I don't know.
How much is a pint of blood worth at all?
Trying to get
Like,
that
I
discount
donate
blood?
blood. How much is my blood worth? I don't know.
Well,
This is creepy though too. You don't think it's like a little weird that people are injecting themselves with other people's blood?
Yeah.
Super weird.
I mean,
Is there a price on that? I don't know. It's just weird.
this can either be a huge scam or an actual thing. But it
So we
looks
don't
like a
have that
scam.
many liters of blood. Like we have like 4 or 5.
No,
And
we have
then-
none.
Don't we have? I think we
Well,
have.
when you give
I think you
blood, you
donate
give a liter.
blood, you give a liter.
Yeah.
Oh, do
You
you?
can't give much more, and you usually can't give. They usually have you wait every 3 months to give again.
Right. Interesting.
Oof. Okay. All right. Well, that's enough articles for today. Let's talk about you, Raiden. Thank you once again for joining. Why don't you give us a little background? Like, where are you at today? What do you do?
Today I'm in Canada today, and I do a lot of things. I think I just got back from Mexico. Actually, I was in Mexico for a little bit, which was interesting. Like during a pandemic, it was very fascinating. But yeah, so I've been working
So
online.
fun or
working-
for business in Mexico?
Well, it was actually to meet my partner. So I had this like crazy story of like meeting my like partner online on like this online like language learning site, and then like falling in love over the internet, and then traveling to Mexico to meet up. And it was just like, yeah, so for fun, I guess.
That's so cool.
yeah, it was really cool, and like we're hanging out. But yeah,
You
it was
just
really
met him.
really.
Okay, yeah. Go with the business stuff. That's a really cool story, though.
No, I'll go into that, and then I think the business stuff can come after, because it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like,
let's-
you just met him for the first
So-
time.
Yeah, so it was crazy because I was learning Spanish online, and I had switched teachers after I came back from Spain because the world was shutting down, and I came back to Canada. And I had been in Spanish school there, and then I needed a new teacher online, and I found this guy, and he seemed pretty cool. And we started talking, and he was like my teacher, and it was like super professional, but we were just both had this vibe, and it was kind of weird because neither of us wanted to make it awkward, you know? And we just kept talking and kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit. It's like, hey, do you want to like hang out online like after class or something? So it's like kind of a weird situation. But then just started becoming like really, really good friends, and like slowly developed feelings for each other over the course of 4 months, like talking every day, like hours and hours each day, until one day we decided that we would meet each other. And Mexico was the only place during the pandemic that we could both go, and we really, really wanted to meet because we had essentially like fallen in love online, which I didn't know was possible. And we got like an apartment in Playa del Carmen, and just decided we'd just go for it and see how it goes.
You were in Playa del Carmen, huh?
Yeah,
Places-
exactly.
I was there last year around this time. No, December, actually.
And how was it?
Well, how long were you in around there?
Almost 2 months.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, so fairly recent.
That is such an amazing story. You know, like it just kind of re-highlights this like idea that like that it's such a very large world, and to find somebody that you can connect with is kind of a miracle. You know?
Where's he?
Definitely.
Is he Mexican? Is he from Mexico?
No, he's from Uruguay, but he was living in Spain.
Gotcha.
And I
He could
think
travel to Mexico from Spain, and you could travel to
Exactly.
Mexico from Canada.
exactly. And it was like all these,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
an amazing. That's an amazing story. And you guys were there together for 2 months.
yeah, and it was beautiful. And the crazy thing is like, so yeah, it's already crazy to just meet someone, period, like who you really connect with. But then there were
Right.
all these crazy
Yeah.
coincidences. We
Yeah.
had been following each other around the world for the past 5 years. We were in the same country like 5 or 6 times in the last 5 years, like for long periods of time together, but never meeting.
Wow.
Yeah, you
And
always hear about, like, you hear these like weird things. That is really crazy. Like, your paths have interconnected so many times, but you've never,
our birthdays are
Oh, that's amazing.
our birthdays are 1 day apart. Also, like 1 year and 1 day apart. It's like just crazy weird stuff.
That is
Right,
so
yeah.
weird. So many things had to come into line for you guys to even connect. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I just got.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so then we got there, and you can imagine, like, you've been talking with this person online for like months, and then you're about to see this person in person, and no matter how close you get online, there's just like 3D world, like 4 or 5D, you know, it's like, there's just like a difference. And it was like instant. Like, I remember like seeing like his face at the door, and I was just like freaked out. I was so happy. And yeah, we've just been like, just having a blast ever since. And now I'm going on Monday to Portugal, and we have a camper van that we're going to live in and drive through the coast of
Oh my
Portugal.
god, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
That's
been
amazing.
like incredible. So yeah, that's my recent like history.
So, you're originally from Canada, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. Have you
Wait,
heard
but
of?
I just want to say one
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I have never met this woman,
Yeah.
and Raiden, and I can like feel the joy coming out of you and like literally radiating from you, and I'm just so impressed already, and like I feel like I'm very happy for you. I just have to say that because I feel like you sound like you're going on this great adventure. You've been on a great adventure. You're going on a great adventure, and you're just so excited about it. And it's you can actually hear it in your voice. So kudos to you.
Thank you, Duff. Oh, you're so kind. Thank you.
I'd echo that as well. I mean, so crazy.
Yeah, sorry, I just had to say that.
No,
before, that
no.
went, because that's cool.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's cool that you get to go on this like brand new adventure together. So you guys already secured the van?
We got the van. It's so cool. It's like an eco-friendly van, like just like a converted kind of like a little moving truck, I guess you'd call it. Like it's a little Fiat. And
It's a Fiat.
Yeah, and I
Fiat
just learned how to drive
van?
manual.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah. I've been taking lessons all week just so I can drive this van.
Honestly, watch YouTube. Like, I learned how to drive a manual from watching YouTube because I'm a very I need to like see something, understand how it works, and it helped me understand the process. And then I got in the car, and after like a couple practice runs, it was all good. Like, I was fine, and it's like a nice skill to have.
It is. You know what's crazy though? I think it's like one of those things where it's like when you think too much though, it just doesn't work. You know, like if you get too much in your head, and I think it's like this, like, I don't know. I feel like I've been taking it as like this like this experience that's teaching me how to like get out of my own head and like just be a bit more present. It's like a driving meditation. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I just bought a car to drive that has stick because it was a couple $1,000s less. And I, like the first car I ever learned how to drive in was like a Ford F-150 stick, and it's kind of it's gonna be an ancient skill, right? Like they don't even make cars that way anymore, brand new, and if they do, it's very rare.
No, they drive those cars in Europe.
Yeah,
Only
that makes a lot.
America is the only country that doesn't really drive stick as their.
Is that
manual.
true? Is that true? I mean,
Yeah.
I knew at one
I
point
think
in
so.
time, I knew at one point in time that was the case, but like the efficiency of an automatic now surpasses a manual. And
I don't think that's true.
you don't think that's true?
I don't think that there is.
Yeah.
I think they're still more popular in the U.S. than they are anywhere else in the world. I think most of the world has more people that drive manual than they do automatic.
actually looked this up the other day because I was curious. So in America, apparently it's like 70 something percent drive automatic. In Canada, it's like 50 something drive automatic. And I didn't look up in Europe, but just like the comparison, it was just interesting to see like even just Canada versus the US. I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, I think with the energy electric cars that are getting really popular, like it was crazy because the Netherlands wants to be like completely electric or something by like, I don't know, 2020 something. Yeah. And so I think with that we're gonna see stick shift kind of become really ancient. Yeah. Right.
So I don't know how old this blog talk is. It says 85% of cars are sold with stick shifts in Europe. Here in America, it's 95%. Oh, this was 2011 though. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I checked the date of my article either, so it's just like sounds good.
Automatic versus manual.
I do drive automatic.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they've surpassed efficiency with manuals, especially if you are just an average person doing manual. But I mean, whatever the case. So you are originally from Canada, and I wanted to ask you, have you heard of the show Trailer Park Boys? Have I asked you this question before?
No, you haven't, but yes, I am.
So, is it like a well-known show in Canada?
I think it was. Like, I think it hit its prime quite a few years ago, maybe like 5-6 year ago.
How do people regard this show in Canada? Like, is it like this trash show? Is it dumb? I don't know. I've been watching it since I was 16.
Yeah, it's a good question. Honestly, I don't hear that many people talk about it. I kind of fell into it, and no one really, I don't know, no one has really mentioned it, but everyone knows it. So maybe it's kind of like a guilty pleasure of all Canadians, you know?
I fucking love that show. I still watch that show. It's like a lot of Americans, I think, do this. They'll go on like seasonal Friends binges. So they'll watch Friends like back to back seasonally. I don't know, Duff, do you do this?
Yes. I love Friends and I love The Office. I like The Office more than Friends now. Yeah. It's funny, I've always been a Friends fan, but it's more The Office that I'll lean to these days.
I feel like people do this here, and what I do is go on Trailer Park Boys binges. I don't know.
I do have with the Sopranos.
Jet.
What's up?
Hey, man. Jet, Raiden, Jet. Raiden's our special guest tonight. I was just asking her about Trailer Park Boys because it's one of my favorite shows, and I was just wondering if she had heard of it. That's all. It's a very, very plain question. So Raiden, when did you decide you wanted to kind of like leave Canada? Like how old were you? Were you just coming out of college? I know that you have a business as well. So like what kind of started you on that journey? What do you think inspired you to like kind of like make the shift? And how did you find out that it was even possible?
That's a good question. So how I found out it was possible was when I was in university, I was dating this guy and he was an engineer and he was working with like, I don't know, like the army and all this stuff, programming. And I was like, what are you doing? How are you working from home? And he would turn around and he'd be like, oh, I made like a few $100 today. I was like, what? I've been like eating like in bed, just like eating, doing my homework, and you're making money from your computer in your boxes. This is very cool. And I had gotten this freelance job with the school to help them with some like design thinking, I guess. and making like presentations and like thinking through things for like technology in Canada. And I didn't know how to do it. So I asked my partner at the time, I'm like, like, how do you work online? Where do you find jobs? All this stuff. And I got exposed to this world. And I went on like freelancer.com or something like that, like the most obvious website if you're going to freelance. And I hired someone from across the world to do my work. And I paid them like $5-10 or something.
Wait,
and
what? You outsourced your work?
Yeah, I outsourced my work.
You're fucking clever. You're fucking clever, dude. Oh my god.
That's great.
There's an article about this dude who got caught outsourcing his engineering work to China. And he even got a reward for like the best, engineering work or whatever in his company. And when they found out, they let him go. But my argument is like, it's actually a really hard skill to manage outsourced people, with like the language barrier, the time management and all that stuff. So like they could have fired him and like rehired him as like an outsourcing manager of some sort.
A contract manager.
Yeah.
I think like it's kind of like finding your space of genius. Like for me, it's not particularly like, it is challenging. It's something I had to learn, but it felt easier than figuring out how to do the job, So I was
yeah. Wow, that's badass. That's badass.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I got started. And then one day I was like, well,
doing that, like.
In a way, yes. It's a bit more legitimized, but essentially in a way. And so basically I was like, actually it's such a funny story. So I was like, I could do this. If, I can hire someone to do this, I can probably find a job as well online. And my first online job was editing this guy's online dating photos. So just making him like more tanned and like making his teeth whiter and like blurring out his mom out of a photo. For $25 a photo, and I did 5 of them. So I was like, and it took me like 10 minutes, to do each one. So I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is the new world. And so that's how I got started. And then it kind of kept going. I never had this like clear plan. I think a lot of times, like I've lived in Bali and stuff for a while, and a lot of people there have this moment, like they quit their job and they're like, I can't do this anymore, or I need to switch careers, and they have this like big moment. But I feel like mine has always been really gradual. It's just been like I was living in like Montreal, I was enjoying, I was like fun and employed with my friends, and I'm like, I kind of want to check out Costa Rica and do something a bit different, and then slowly started hiring people, and things getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and like, just building a more legitimate business over time, but always traveling.
Wow. So you just started off kind of gradually to picking up projects and things like that, and then getting other people involved where you could, and you used sources like freelancer.com for a while. Does that sound...
There was a point where I knew how to do the stuff too. But I used the site called Elance. It was before Upwork existed.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my bread and butter, doing like little projects. But then they started getting bigger, like a $500 project. And I was still in school. I was like, this is amazing, And then, there's so many points. Like one time I had a startup in that, and I like raised, like I was like 21, I raised like $100,000. So I was like, and then like it failed, and there's so many different points along this journey. But I'm trying to make it a bit more intentional now that I know how to do it. But it's always kind of, I feel like a lot of it's happened, It's like I've just really enjoyed everything, and I've just kept going in the direction of like, oh, this could be cool.
So you continue to work remotely, and that's how you kind of finance travel around the world and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think that's a big hurdle for a lot of people, like who are in their jobs, right? They like want to make the transition, and maybe they're a little afraid because maybe they have like a nest egg, maybe they don't. And then maybe they are are working remotely, but they don't know how exactly to just like pick up and go, finance the whole thing, plan the move, I guess, so to speak. So when you go to like Costa Rica, you get like you sublet, you like get like short-term lease, like a month, or how does that work?
Logistics really hold a lot of people back. They get quite scared about like what's going to happen, how is it all going to work. But I actually find it easier than like when I'm in North America to live. Like in Bali, I had like this beautiful like giant mansion home with helpers and a huge pool, rice field views, and like everything was taken care of for me. Like I find it quite stressful being in like North America, where I'm like I have to think about so many things. Like there's just so much more to think about on this side of the world for me than when I'm living in Asia, for example. And in regards to like the actual logistics, there's so many ways to do it, but the best way I think to get started is just like book an Airbnb for a month. And I think the thing is like to start becoming a bit more comfortable with discomfort, because you're going to go somewhere you probably don't speak the language, you probably don't have any friends, and so I think there's this level, like I saw there's a direct correlation to the success of my business, and the more I was okay with like being uncomfortable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What are the stressors in North America that you don't really find in Asia?
Yeah, I find like there's a lot of like socially, I find it a bit challenging for me. Like, I don't know, there's just like, especially when it comes to business and stuff, I found like a lot of this is also my community, it's not saying everyone, but I just have found the business world and this side is so like everything's like so grandiose, like bigger, like build the best, and it's always the best in the world and the biggest and like these huge companies, and I find like the community around business and entrepreneurship, there's like all these like secret millionaires in Bali who built these businesses around their lifestyle. So I find kind of like just keeping up with like in the startup world and all this like talk and stuff, it's just like it's hard to follow because it doesn't feel the most authentic to me personally, but I could be wrong. And then just things are like really expensive. Like I find like it's like, and it's not even about that like the money's not there, but it's just like the value of it's really different. And I have to be more conscious of things. Like I just ordered 2 salads today on Uber Eats and it was like $60. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. And it was like, and it's just, I have to be more conscious of it. And then there's more rules. Like there's just like, I love driving in Bali. Like there's like, it's for better or for worse. It's like no rules, and you just kind of go around and do whatever. And there's this, someone was saying, the thing about Asia is like they believe the future is always the best. And like in Europe, sometimes they believe the past was always the best, right? Like in the past we were better. And then in Asia, it's always the future. It's like the future. So there's this optimism and like anything's possible that I really, really enjoy when I'm there.
What do you think North America,
present day is the best?
Yeah, I don't know.
One thing you said that really struck me was these like secret millionaires that like built their business out of their lifestyle, like from their lifestyle, as opposed to building the business and then their lifestyle, which I think maybe some people take maybe in North America, they build a business and then so that they can have the lifestyle. And that's very interesting. I mean, you don't have to start, like the next Facebook to have a decent business and a decent life.
Yeah.
Would you say businesses in America are like more about showmanship and like status, like having status, whereas in other countries it's more about just the business itself and creating something?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I feel like just the idea of the American dream in itself is kind of like it's this gamble where it's like the future, if I do this, if I hustle, the future is going to be better, And I can't say that's how, like culturally, how businesses operate in other countries, but just kind of in the space I was in, where it's like a lot of like mindfulness and conscious people and kind of this whole world, I felt like there was this idea that like the present is the most valuable. And so I'm not going to gamble the present for the future, but it doesn't mean that you can't be future oriented, you know, or so I think it's that balance between the two, where it's like so many, I was looking up entrepreneurs in like mental health, you know, in North America, and it's crazy. Like I think it was 8 entrepreneurs were like 8 times more likely to have mental health issues in North America. And like, it's just insane to like be like, okay, I'm not going to eat well, I'm not going to sleep, I'm not going to do all like these things that are really good for me for like 3, 4, 5 years, so I can build this thing that will give me freedom.
Yeah,
it's like a bad deal.
Yeah, you know, I'm from Cupertino, like right, so next to Apple and Google, and when I was 21, I also 23, I raised some money and put my business in an office, right? And that was like my first business, which also failed. But like everybody, the scene back then was like investors were throwing money at like everybody, you know? And, but everybody was so fiercely competitive. Everybody felt like they had the biggest, largest idea. And in order to raise money, you had to kind of convey that grandiose attitude, and everybody I knew was shacking up in garages, not sleeping. You know, they sleep like 2-3 hours a night, just working their asses off. You know, and then there was like a subset of people that were just really good hustlers that like had like could convey that confidence and attitude. But not really do much work at all. So they would be like, they would get money for basically just having an idea and not anything tangible. It was a shit show. Extremely stressful, and I saw people age real quick.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Braden, what kind of work do you focus on? Like, are you mostly design, it sounds like?
Yeah, so I have a design business, so I make apps and websites for tech startups, generally speaking, but also some other kind of companies as well. And then I have another company that we just pivoted, but I just actually went through the fundraising process with this company just to like, because people were super, super interested in it. So we're like, okay, let's raise a round and go through this process. And we went through it. And I just remembered why I stopped doing this. Because I was like, I don't like this. I don't like kind of where it's leading. And then I guess it's still running, but I have an online school that teaches freelancers like how to get better clients and really focuses on empowering creatives with business skills. Because I think sometimes like when you're like identify more as an artist, it's kind of sometimes it's hard to ask for money and to charge your worth. So these are some things I've been working on. But my main business, the one that's been running the longest, is the design agency.
So you mentioned that you didn't like doing this, and I didn't really quite understand what you didn't like. Was that like the fundraising part of it and kind of being held to investor stakeholders and stuff, and was that it? Or
Yeah, like I'm really into indie makers, you know? I really love this, like the new trend of like really like even, this indie makers and kind of seeing what happens from, I don't know, like, and when I went into the industry world of investing and talk and these questions, I just found like the questions didn't really like align with my values, and obviously when you're finding investors, it's like dating, you know, you have to find a match. So and I wasn't doing it for that long, but it was less of anyone else. Like I don't have a problem with anyone else and like their process. I think it's beautiful. But it was really for me, like it was like, okay, I could build this big thing, but it just felt kind of out of alignment. So I didn't like the process because it felt like I kind of got trapped again. And then I like untrapped myself. I was like, wait, I don't want to do that. I forgot. You know?
Yeah. That's kind of like me with consulting. I got trapped into it, doing it again, and kind of forgot. I hate it so much, dude. But what is it? Did you ever try raising VC funds ever?
Well, this is what we were doing. We were looking for a lead for this round.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
so we're talking
gotcha.
to some big VCs and that whole thing.
Dude, tell me if this frustrates you. Every time I spoke with a VC, you know, they all want some kind of traction. They want you to already be pulling revenue, right? And making profit. And I just think to myself, like, you know, if I reach the requirements that you want for you to give me some money, why the fuck do I need your money? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
Like you want me to bootstrap this all the way till it's self-sufficient, and what value are you going to bring me? You know? I don't know.
It sounds like a record label.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, get a buzz online and then we'll sign you. It's like silly.
Yeah. Exactly. No, it's hilarious because it's just like, okay, why do you need the funds to do this thing? But then they break down that thing into multiple questions and basically ask you why you haven't had this done yet. And you're like, well, because they don't have the funds to do this. But we have these other things done. They're like, oh, but this thing's not done. You're like, I know, that's why I need the funds. And it's kind of this like I don't know, tail chasing. It's really funny.
Yeah. And in plenty of businesses do just fine bootstrapping. You know, I think there's certain cases where it makes sense. You know, one of the biggest mistakes, I think, the failure of my first company was that I didn't take enough money, and I kind of failed at like marketing, and I could have really used that money to kind of push it forward, and I didn't. But that, I think it's a very specific case. Where like you can use the clout of a VC. Like I had a friend in the space. His company won like the TechCrunch Disrupt, and the company was called Shaker, and it was stupid. It was stupid as fuck. It was a Facebook app, right? That was basically. I hope I'm not signed in here because I never really go on Facebook, but. Yeah, so it's a Facebook app / game, and it's basically a virtual bar in a 2D place that you could sign in with Facebook and like hang out with friends and like watch concerts and stuff like that. And I didn't understand how they won Facebook Disrupt. This is not a disruptive thing. You know what I mean? It's not like this weird disruptive piece of technology. And then I had this, and then I knew because one of my friends was running the company, and his father had connected him with like this huge group of VCs, and they basically just fixed it so that they can prop him up on the stage, and it was ridiculous, but like that shows like kind of the power, and it gave them a ton of exposure, and that just kind of shows the power of like how you could possibly leverage a VC relationship. But then again, I wonder what they had to trade for that. You know, how many blowjobs they had to give or something. I don't know.
Honestly, and like, yeah, it's definitely like a big trade-off. And even this page, they don't have that many followers.
No, they don't.
For being like, It's like Habbo Hotel.
Going back to kind of like logistically speaking, with traveling
Yeah.
and stuff, what I caught was like, get used to feeling discomfort. So how do you're a very outgoing person, so I'm pretty sure you make friends really easy. Do you have any tips for like people that may be like how to I guess deal with the discomfort and maybe reach out to new people? Like, where do you go when you're in a new place, you don't know anybody? Like, where do you go to meet new people?
Yeah, well, there's this site actually called Nomad List. That's a really, really good site to check out
What is
as
it
kind
called?
of your Nomad List. So if you look up Nomad List, it has a list of all the top places for nomads.
Oh.
And yeah, it's super convenient.
So these are just people. So these are other people in the area that have also just kind of are staying there temporarily, living and working, right?
Exactly.
Gotcha,
So,
gotcha.
and you can see the top places that nomads are in right now, or
In
like
Bali?
in the cost for nomads. Yeah, Bali's always in Canggu. And if you click into any of them, you can see kind of
Lisbon or Portugal. Yeah.
Portugal sweet. Yeah, I think you
Berlin.
should check it out.
Hey. Mexico, Bangkok.
What makes Bali always top of the list?
Oh man, it's really like a paradise for creatives and nomads and everything. It's so good. It's like I was living there past 3 years, had this beautiful home, and it's just like, oh man, I don't even know where to start. So the community of entrepreneurs is insane. So you have just like these, again, the secret millionaires, and you have people who are bootstrapping, you have startup people, you have kind of everyone there. Like, I think people are there's an article that was out, or a video, I can't remember where it was on, but they were on CNN, I think. Yeah, they were talking about how like startups are going, when they get their runway, to go to Bali, because like the same few $1 million will last them years in Bali versus months in California. And so you kind of have everyone there, and then there's kind of like a bunch of spiritual people as well, which is really cool to balance everything out. And just, it's like Bali is like a nomad island. Like certain parts of Bali, there's just like everything that you need. So there's like a studio that I go to called Genesis, which has a podcasting studio, a video recording, photography space. It has like a music room. It has everything that you'd need to build a creative project. There's like 20 million co-working spaces, all the short-term rentals, super easy to get set up there and join a community. There's events every night. Like, I remember like feeling like I was part of something, like I had a friend group. And so on the note of friendship and nomading, I think a great place to start is like co-working spaces and nomad meetups. So like if you go on meetup.com or on Nomad List, there's also a forum. There's reviews, there's everything. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Raiden, would you say, you've talked a bit about businesses and startups and stuff like that. Would you say, in order to realistically do this sustainably throughout your life, that's the direction you have to go in? Or could you do something more like freelancing and consulting consistently?
So I started off as a freelancer and I think you can do that. So with cost of living, I think it's all on here, the cost of living for each place. So you have Bali, it's $1,200 a month. Lisbon a bit more, 2,000 Berlin, but like, so to like, I'm not the best at math, but I feel like even when you're getting started, if you're working at like $20 an hour, you could definitely make a living and save a little bit. I think it's just when you get into these communities, they're quite inspiring. And I think that's why a lot of people end up going a lot more entrepreneur route. But there are a lot of people who are freelancing and consulting who are doing this.
So you're saying like entrepreneurship kind of comes with the culture,
Exposure to the community.
Yeah.
Just seen it happen so many times where someone's been had a job or has been working as a freelancer, and then it just kind of comes because you see another opportunity. So whether it's they merge into like, I think a big one's like education, like teaching, like online courses, or having agencies, or kind of things to do with people, so retreats, events. There's a lot of different directions, and then there's the full-on kind of more business world where it's like, yeah, tech startups. You kind of have a bit of everything.
And how, so to talk about the freelance stuff a little bit more, like if someone wanted to get started in that, what would you recommend?
Definitely. So I definitely recommend, it's the skill that you're going to work on is a harder one to say. So kind of choosing what skill, I would kind of look first to see like what comes easy to you that might not be easy for everyone else. And that might be organizing complex information, or that might be being on the phone with strangers, or like, you know what I mean, like to think like making friends easily. Like think about like kind of what comes easy to you and not to someone else if you don't have a core digital skill. So like design or engineering, or one of those kind of big skills that are very popular. But if you're just like maybe come from an office job, maybe a traditional admin job, and you're like, oh, like, but I'm so good when I'm on the phones, or you're like, you know, but I can deal with chaos really well in the office, or maybe, you know, I've always had an eye for visual things, like I can see things really easily, like kind of taking an inventory of yourself, and then looking at kind of maybe what are some of the skills that are in demand right now, and checking sites like Upwork or other freelancing sites, just to see what jobs are posted, to kind of see what's out there. I think that's a nice way to start, and then choosing a skill. And I say like temporarily commit to something. So even my partner right now, he's switching from teaching online to he's looking at offering design and SEO, but he's never done these things, but he's always been quite aware of those things, like where people are ranking, and like really interested in the data around it. And then design, not in the same way that I'm doing it, but kind of just like helping these smaller businesses. And so it's something new, and he's gonna probably outsource it, but kind of it's just a space of interest for him already. So I think the hardest part for most people is picking something to do. But even if you're going to change it, it's better to just pick something and try, and like maybe to go on those sites like Upwork, or I don't know what other freelancing sites exist right now, but checking those sites and sending proposals and kind of doing a bit of hustling when you're getting started. So that it's a big question, but I think like finding the skill, finding the people who need the skill, and then pitching to the people who need that skill.
Got it. Do you feel like there's an average time to first client?
That's a really good question. I think it depends on how much guidance the person has, you know. So and I think there's so many things. Like there's people who come to me and tell me they can't find clients, like to save their life. And I used to actually work and do a bit of coaching around this, and it's usually just their system's a bit funny, you know. Like I think we have so much education at our fingertips now. I think like just getting a bit of guidance definitely shortens that time. I think like a month is a nice amount of time to get a client. So if you're sending, say, 10 proposals a week, about a month is usually, I think, how long it takes.
So a month, or in other words, like 40 to 50.
Yeah, sometimes it's a lot faster, but I usually say like for the first kind of calls, it's like 10 to 1. So you might send 10 out and then get 1 reply. And then out of those 4, say, replies, maybe closing 1 of them. So you don't necessarily have to send 40 out. Like most people I know end up getting a client in less than that, especially if it's personalized proposals. If it's cold, then that's a whole other formula. But that's generally what I've seen if they have a decent hustle.
What would you say is a better investment? I mean, personalized proposals are obviously more effective, clearly, but it takes more time to personalize those portfolios unless you're able to write HTML or something like that. So is it better to do cold and go for quantity, or is it better to do personalized and really target your approach?
I think it depends on your niche, like who you're offering. So with me, with tech startups, I'm very personal because like I have very specific clients I like to work with, And so I'll do high touch and also my conversion rate's really good, so I can do that now. And even when I was getting started, I had such a specific skill, working with tech startups in such a specific space, that I did high touch, personalized. But like my partner who's working with small businesses and he's working with lawyers and dentists and kind of these service businesses, are cold is better, I feel like, because it's I think it depends on their level of awareness. So it's kind of like this copywriting concept of level of awareness, where you see where your customer, if you've ever seen those really, really long spammy looking web pages that go on and on, they have stories and pictures and they go on forever, and it's selling, I don't know, a weight loss program or an online course or something like that. Those pages take you through the levels of awareness. So you go from not knowing that you even have a problem to then you read the first line, you're like, oh man, maybe I do have a problem. So then you become aware that you have a problem, but you don't know there's a solution. And they're like, but wait, there's a solution to this. And then you're like, oh man, there's a solution. So you become solution aware, but you don't know the exact product that's going to fix it. Then you find their product. They're like, but here's the exact product that's going to fix all your problems. And you're product aware, and then you buy it and you become most aware. And so with kind of certain niches who are maybe less techy or don't really know why they need this service, cold is better, because you have to bring them through more levels of awareness. But in the world I'm working in, the clients that I work on know they have a problem and know there's a way to fix it. They're just looking for the right provider to fix it.
Gotcha. What would you say some of the hottest skills are right now for freelance work?
Yeah, I think in mass, it's design, engineering. People want to build things right now. Digital products are really, really big. But there's a report, I think Upwork has this freelancing report or something like that tells what are the most in-demand skills. There was business analyst or something like this that was pretty in demand too, which I thought was surprising.
You have to log in for the report, I guess, right?
Oh no, yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, I was just thinking about Yard Sale. Yard Sale and I had been talking about doing remote work, and some things you could do is support roles that customer service. You could be anywhere and do that, and you don't need to be a developer or anything like that. You can follow a process. If you can follow a process and you're relatively good on the phone or typing, that's a nice, I guess probably a decent entry point.
Yeah. VA work and stuff like that. I think
data entry too. Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say? What kind of work?
VA, virtual assistant. People think but yeah, I had a friend who was a high-end virtual assistant for I don't know, I don't know the numbers, but up to $80 an hour doing virtual assistant stuff.
Yeah, they have a category called. I'm by the way, I'm showing this Upwork on the stream. Admin support, right? So they got options for, like you said, virtual administrative assistants. They even have data entry, transcription, online research, order processing. That's nuts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really specific.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wonder if that's manual order processing. I don't know. Creative writing too might be kind of cool one-off stuff, right? I know that I'm pretty shitty at making copy for marketing materials and stuff, and so there's a person that I frequently reach out to, and I'll pay her $25 in Bitcoin to write a thing. Because I'm just stupid like that.
No, I do the same. Or translation.
Yeah.
So I do. I think you were talking about business analytics. I think you mentioned that as one of the higher ones. I do that for a living. I'm just curious. Those analytics, data, engineering, design. These are the hotter fields right now. I imagine they're more competitive. Would you say that's true?
I keep hearing about like competition and like everyone's going to design, everyone's taking these like development boot camps and then becoming designers also. And I feel like if you're like, it might be competitive, but I just don't. I think that stops a lot of people from trying, and I think it's just being really. I think how I think about it is like I really think when I send a proposal or I'm messaging a client or I'm on a call that I'm going to see if I'm the best person to solve this problem. And I think sometimes when we think of the skill, we forget about the other side of it. And that's what happens to a lot of freelancers who I was working with, where they were so concerned with how much money they'd make, if they could sustain this living. And these are important questions and stuff, and like what skill to take on. But rather than remembering that like the money comes when you solve problems. So the higher value the problem you solve, the more money that comes, and the more specific the problem you solve, the less competition you have. And so you could be a designer, but if you kind of get a bit more specific about who you want to actually work with, the specific type of people, I feel like the competition just keeps dwindling down. There's a lot of generalists, and I think becoming a specialist is a really, really great way to show up in the market.
Yeah. That's a really fabulous answer. I mean, there's also a level of like, I guess, salesmanship and client management stuff that you just would have to have as a freelancer in any one of these, I guess, more high demand skills. Like, if you were, I mean, I'm sure even in your design work, you're probably really great with clients.
There's a lot of space to learn too. I think that's another thing. It's like, I think there's this idea that I'll be ready when, but there's so much space to learn. Like it took me 4 years to get a repeat client. Like I was so bad, I was really bad at client management. Somehow I was still making a living, and like, it's okay to suck. It's kind of like, I'll go back to my current state of like driving manual. Like I'm going to stall a couple times. And even though I kind of have it now, I'll still make beginner mistakes. Or another thing is I'm learning Spanish, and like, I'll make mistakes like a beginner. And so I think like you never, like the journey's not linear of getting these skills or managing clients or being a salesperson. My first sales call, I remember I was in the basement of my parents' house because I didn't want them to hear. And I was pitching a landing page, and I had done kind of a mock-up for free just so they could like trust me. That was the way of me getting in on these calls. I'd be like, I'll do this for free for you, and then we can see if we want to work together. So I give him this like free design that was horrible. Like I think I used like a marble tile background for the site. Like it was just so bad. It was so bad. And he's like, Danielle, like this is art. He's like, this is not what I really want. And I was like, well, would you tell your plumber what to do? Would you tell your I don't know. I started getting like super salesperson on them. Would you tell this person what to do? And I just started, and I was so nervous, like sweating, but eventually I got better and better and better.
I remember you telling me this story, and I think I'm gonna point this out because I think it's important. You were telling me that you were kind of on this like, it was like the first one, so you were like so kind of you were trying to manufacture like confidence and just kind of like be over salesy, right? And it just kind of completely kind of backfired, and because it wasn't true to your style and how you are, right? And I think you had mentioned that like once you kind of switched over to like I guess being more of yourself, it that's when things started to kind of pick up.
Fake false view of professionalism too, like that you need to be more professional than you are. And I really think like, I don't know, I treat clients like friends now, and when but I think it takes a level of confidence to get to that point. And I think that's just like the life journey, right? Getting closer to being yourself in every context.
Right. No, I would agree with that. I think in terms of like my professional career and how I am around like people in the workplace. I can remember when I first started doing it, and now it almost seems just like second nature, I guess. And sometimes I get home and at the end of the day, and maybe I'm playing a video game or just being like stupid me, right? And I think to myself, like, did I just fucking do all that today? Like, that just seems so out of scope for me, like just so out there. And sometimes it's just kind of like, but it shows just how much I've kind of grown into just being myself in those scenarios.
Yeah, we know that you're yourself.
I hey, Raiden, Jet worked at the same place that worked with me in the same place that I met you at.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So Jet and I have shared the same workplace at 2 different places so far. I'm hoping to get him in on a third, which would be
hit the 3-peat. Yeah, we might hit the 3-peat.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Then maybe we can work together, Jet.
Hey.
That would be cool.
That would be so cool. I would love that. Do any of you guys want to, like, I don't know, have you worked and traveled, or do you want to work and travel? Does it seem appealing at all?
I've been playing around with the idea for years now, and I have largely thought that that's the ultimate. I'm not really looking to build massive, buy a big house. I have this dream of being able to own a small apartment in New York and a small apartment in Paris, a small apartment, kind of just, trade my time between all these places. So yeah, I find it very interesting. I think the financial instability is very scary. Not just the financial instability, but also the physical instability. The older I get, the more I become accustomed to a certain level of comfort and a certain amount of, like, to put it frankly, like, just stuff. You know what I mean? Like, which is a bullshit. I'm a huge appreciator of, like what you said, becoming used to discomfort. And in my younger years, I was definitely that type of person. But the older I get, the harder that becomes. But overall, it sounds like a really fun lifestyle. I guess probably my biggest fear is that it's easy to romanticize. And so I wonder if I were to make that leap, if it would turn out to be everything I hoped it would. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you then. Like, why do you think, because this comes up so often, and I'm always really curious, why is there a correlation between nomadic life and financial instability, as well as why is there a correlation between nomadic life and discomfort or non-materialism?
I think the financial instability is just a misconception. I'm speaking for me personally. So I have a misconception that it's more unstable than staying in one place and building a career. And as I think about it, I don't know if unstable is the right word, but I do think it's different, right? Like, I know pretty well the amount of money I'm going to be making for the next, few years, for the foreseeable future. So there's a sense of comfort in that and security, versus freelance. That's a little bit more up in the air. And I imagine at a certain point, like where you're at, you probably feel similarly to the way I do. I mean, I could always lose my job, could always lose clients. And I imagine at certain points in a freelance career, you get to a point where you have a level of confidence and security around your ability to make a certain amount of money for the foreseeable future. So I imagine at some point the freelance lifestyle sort of catches up to the traditional career lifestyle. But the stuff part is like, I'm outside smoking a cigar right now, but I was sitting in my room, and I've got a big 50-inch screen TV on a big entertainment system and all these video games and stuff. Like, it's difficult to move and that's just one area. Like, I have a ton of shit and I love my shit. Like, I grew up poor, so having stuff is a symbol or like a metaphor for not being poor anymore. And I would find it really difficult to lug all that shit around living a nomadic lifestyle. And if I were going to do it, I would want to sacrifice some of some of the stuff that I carry with me. And that would be a difficult sacrifice to make, I think.
I guess, like, well, right now you're working from home, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So, like, and you have the same career. So for me, I think, like, you don't have to be a freelancer. You don't have to work for yourself. You could do the same thing doing now from Paris. Just have to deal with any time zone thing coming up. But I think that's the misconception, that you have to kind of drop everything in your known world. And also, when it comes to the stuff, like, I'm a nomad, but I was living in Bali for the last 3-4 years, so it's quite a consistent home. And I had a huge villa, with plenty of things and multiple TVs and all the things that I could want. I definitely own less possessions, but that's just a personal choice. But I know people who are pursuing this lifestyle where they're really, I think it's more of a lifestyle of leveraging economies, and staying in one place, but having the freedom to their location independent, but you don't have to move every month or 2 months or even year.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I like the idea of traveling and working, especially with the way that things have become during the pandemic. I think it can make things a little bit more interesting, because I feel like working from home and being stuck in the same place every single day, and it's your home, so it like makes your own home uncomfortable after a while, because it doesn't feel like home now, it feels like the office. But if you're actually like moving around and going to different places, then your life could start to feel more you can get more variety again in your life. So I like the idea of that, especially if things go like permanent work from home for certain companies.
Yeah, definitely.
There's this a kind of illusion, I think, that of like roots, right? At least for me, and like safety with a regular job, I guess. But to Raiden's point is that, like, in Lux's situation, and probably many of us, working remotely, you can literally, travel, and those materials that you have, you can pretty much get anywhere. There's like, there's even apartments that are like fully furnished and all that stuff. Right? You've probably seen them, Raiden. You can like get like fully furnished.
Really, yeah.
Huh?
I think the one thing that, like, my family, not my parents, but my aunts and uncles, I think they still think I backpack, and I think there's this perception like
our niece is backpacking around Europe. She's been doing it for like the past 10 years.
I'm like, guys, I'm not backpacking. And they're like, Rated, like, how is it, like, is it safe there? Like, is it this, is that? And the questions, and they're so valid. But I just think there's this image that's so hard to break of what life is like in another country as a long-term expat, or a short-term expat even. And I think that cognitive dissonance is what I think stops a lot of people from kind of even exploring, because it seems so different than your life here. But it's like your life can be almost exactly the same. It's just maybe cheaper, a bit more convenient in my opinion, and maybe a little bit more chaos depending where you are. Like if you're driving through Indonesia, it's definitely going to be more chaotic in that way, but maybe a lot more convenient in other ways. And the diversity doesn't have to come from seeing different things. Right now, like I'm so over like seeing different places, but what I love is like cultural immersion, like language learning. I love like just really living somewhere else and getting a community there and finding the place where I can have the most mental space. So that's kind of how I optimize my life. I'm like, where can I have the most mental space? So that might be leveraging time zones. So I'm only doing calls in the morning and the evening, so my whole days are free. It might be leveraging economies where I have a cheaper cost of living, so I don't even have to think about money. It might be leveraging, just different aspects, communities that I can find in different places, which I know will propel me forward in a specific direction. But it's kind of like lifestyle optimization at its finest. I feel like that's my opinion.
I think like what I've always wanted to do in terms of moving out of the country, right? So like, I've always felt the desire to immerse myself in a different culture and people, and like language learning, right? That has always really appealed to me. Not necessarily, like hopping from country to country, but just kind of like actually living there, not visiting for like a week or two, right? And just really immersing myself in it. I feel that I personally went backwards, like I moved from California to New York. I didn't really tell anybody I was leaving, and I didn't really have like much of a job or a plan. But prior to moving, I had my own business which I was working on, and it was, I think, going way back to our conversation about entrepreneurship and on this. I will say that it was a lot easier for me to be flexible in terms of like where I work, when I work, kind of while I was like working on my own business. And then I feel that I went backwards because I picked up a regular job in like a panic, and I in a panic to, oh my God, I'm turning a certain age, and I didn't graduate college, so I don't have a traditional education. And I've also not had a traditional job because I've always just worked on my own businesses and, did kind of like stuff here and there for people, right? And because I kind of started in that realm, I felt a little panicked. And so I felt I needed some roots in, I guess, a traditional work lifestyle, and then I got roots, and now I feel a little bit stuck, and I personally think I'm having trouble getting out of it. But as of recently, I've made a lot of steps to kind of uproot myself. Like I'm ready to like leave New York and get to like a new place in my life. So that's my take on whether my thoughts on and my interest on working remotely and travel. Duff,
I'm excited for you.
How about you?
I found this completely fascinating, this conversation. I've struggled with moving and living abroad, and I've wanted to do it for a long time myself. I do have roots here in New York. I think that's definitely kept me here the last few years. And I think I was comfortable. I was getting what I needed out of the job that I have up until, I was actually just talking to Lux about this the other day. I think I've always kind of thought about what else is out there, but have a pretty comfortable job that really allowed me to travel a lot. So I got to take advantage of being in new places. and exploring and seeing and not really being in New York a lot. And it was kind of fine with the position and where I'm at. And I think this whole pandemic has really stripped that away. And it's interesting to me how the website that you were talking about has opportunities. You know, I don't have like an actual skill, I feel like. I think I'm one of those, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. I think I have great people skills. I have organizational skills. My skills are not like I'm a data analyst or I'm a designer. You know, they're soft skills that I have. And I think that's where I excel. And it's interesting to me to hear you talk about this website and the opportunities that you can look for on there to become a freelancer, to kind of explore other opportunities. Because I think that's where I've always struggled is, what am I good at? What do I want to do? And I've always dreamt of living somewhere else. I always think New York will be my home. My family's here. I like New York. But I've always been one of those people that I want to go elsewhere and kind of come back. So I have dual citizenship to Ireland. Like, I wouldn't mind living over there for a year or a couple of years and like having to come back home to New York, you know, or being able to then go somewhere in Europe. Or I think it was very scary to me too. Everything that Luck said and that you said and Jet as well, it is kind of a fantasy. But to hear that there's a reality in it as well, and it's not as difficult, it's not as unattainable as I think we all think it is very reassuring. And maybe it doesn't need to be as long term. Maybe it can be just a couple of years and, you know, go do something else for a while. And that might move you to another place that's where you actually end up finding your niche instead. You know, maybe it's just a journey. So I've enjoyed having you on here. It's been wonderful to hear everything that you said, and the journey that you've gone on is really amazing.
Yeah, really exciting stuff to hear, because I think that a lot of times we think of destinations rather than the path to get there. And when I had this coach one time, and I was like really obsessed with like a productivity system I made for myself, and she's like, Raiden, like the one thing you have to accept is that nothing's going to work forever. And I think that also goes into our lifestyle, like a job. I don't think it's going backwards. Like it can be great for a while, and then maybe we need to change. And I think just accepting that you know, that we don't have this permanency in our mindset or in our wants or in our desires really kind of liberated me personally to be like, okay, change is okay, and it's super normal, and wanting something different is super normal.
It's funny you say that, because the struggle I've had probably for the past, you know, since I moved to New York and got a regular job and kind of like pivoted into a different path, is I realized, I thought to myself that by getting a regular job, my life would feel more stable, right? And so I'm remembering a feeling that I had now. I was in California, and I was working, you know, at my startup, and I had this feeling of like, I'm feeling like I don't want to feel unstable anymore, and it would be interesting to see if I could get one of the, you know, regular jobs. So aside from the panic of me getting older and not having a traditional background, it was like this idea that like maybe if I got a regular job at a company with a salary, it would bring me some stability. And what I found out is that it's the opposite. I'm still very disposable, you know. I
was just gonna say that, man.
Yeah, and
there's no security.
Yeah, and that feeling never quite went away. Although I over time I have become numb to it a little bit. So that's a really good reminder, I guess. You know, maybe if I stepped outside of what I'm doing today, I would approach it differently. It would be less stressful, because I've had that experience of going from working something on my own, you know, with clients and stuff like that, things seeming a little bit unstable, to getting a regular like a more expected work lifestyle, it's still finding instability in that as well, and finding calmness in that whole thing. Maybe if I went back, I would probably approach it a little bit differently, emotionally.
Yeah, and that also reminds me of this concept I've been really, really into lately, because with the pandemic and just like the instability of the world, I've been noticing like I was feeling a lot of fear, not for my career specifically, but just kind of like this general sense of like fear. Like I was very fearful of things. I heard myself saying like I'm scared of random things, and it was interesting. And I've been embracing this idea of this like radical acceptance, kind of like everything that comes is I accept it. Like, okay, I feel unstable. Okay, I accept it. I feel like I want to change. I accept it. And it's crazy because like, it's not super easy to do all the time, but it's the resistance to what we're feeling at the time, I find, that often creates a lot of tension. It's like, oh, like I'm not supposed to feel this way. Like this was supposed to give me stability, or like this was supposed to be this way. And that resistance and that tension and fighting kind of where we're honestly at, I feel like creates the most like internal conflict.
Not being able to accept things the way they are, or life as it is, is probably has been the biggest challenge for me in my entire life. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to keep. I probably need to head to bed. And
Me too.
Duff's on the East Coast. Hey, this was a fabulous show. Thanks to Raiden, and thanks to everybody who joined. Lux, Jet, Duff. This was fabulous. Thank you very, very, very much.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to sit and talk with us and just really chat through that all, because you made it, I think, more realistic, and just you put a voice to, I think, something that we all imagine.
Definitely. Well, it's been so fun. Thank you all for having me. It's been a blast.
Thank you. All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.